Blessings, Black people. It's such an honor to be here in your presence. My name is Queen Sister Africa. I represent It Takes a Village organization, and I reside here in Chirac, Illinois.
All right. For those of you who don't know, that's Chicago, Illinois. Could you talk to us about the community in which you live in, known as Roseland, which is on the far south side of Chicago, and what most people in the international terms would note as the outskirts of a municipality, the outskirts of a municipality. The city of Chicago, where you live, well, Roseland community.
Let me just take you on a quick, I was raised in Inglewood, and we later moved to the low end, the Gap, which is known as Bronzeville today, and I settled in Roseland. But I must say, during this earthly journey, that every Chicagoland community that I have lived in, it was to gain a life experience. Everything I learned in Inglewood, I needed when I got to the low end. Because that's when I was introduced to initiation, when you leave one comfort zone into unfamiliar territory, where there's individuals that don't know you, and you know nothing about those individuals. So a part of the process is initiation. You get bullied, you get punked, you get tried. Due to, I become a mother and got my own apartment, as it was a thing to do back then. You got pregnant, you got your own apartment, it made you independent, it made you grown. I am woman. So I resided in 2822, which is no longer there. An extension of the Ickies. Wow, the flashbacks, I'm sorry. And he moved me to the wild side, Roseland, the killing field. But when we made that transition, I didn't know that he was setting me up, you know, for the mission, because we are all missionaries. During my stay at the low end, I dealt with the closing of Robert Taylor, myself and Sister Beauty Turner. This war on the poor had been consistent. So when I got there and got settled, and the process began to move on, I began to run into a lot of displaced residents from Chicago Housing Authority, from the low end, that knew me by my name. And it was then I discovered that Roseland was the dumping field. It's the dumping ground. We're the last ward and the last boundaries of the city. The 9th on the east side and the 34th ward on the west side.
What type of protections does the local and federal government provide for the children of your community?
We're left rejected, neglected, and unprotected. And the one thing about the federal agencies shutting down is that now the nation can experience what it feels like to be treated like a Negro, like a nigger in America. They've been rejected, neglected, and left unprotected.
What type of resources have the government provided to combat the violence? I'm talking about economic, social, and cultural resources. The city will argue safe passage.
Well, it's ironic that you should even go there, because let me just say, the program that you see running in the streets and all over the news now, the Safe Passage program, I created that program. I created the program and presented it to the streets as a village panacea, because we were in need of a healer. I had the audacity to ask the Creator, what is it that He wanted me to do? And I know better than to be disobedient. So we went to the mayor on the issue of the tempo of crime that was increasing in our community. We presented it to the alderman. And this was prior to Darion Albert being beat in the street. So when they ignored our call, ignored our cry, when we stood at the budget hearing meeting, and the only question we raised was how much money in the budget was allocated for the sole purpose of improving and preserving the quality of African American life, they ignored us. Because again, the quality of African American life is not of importance to the powers that be. But the moment that baby was beaten in the street and it went national, the village become the villains. And Eric Holder come and give ceasefire our money. And to this day, it's not working right, and it's not going to work right because they're so caught up in the safe passage zone that they fail to mention the danger zone. So we had to show them the bushes, and now they're talking about the predators. We presented that. But what they're not talking about is the list of murderers, child murderers, that are living in your communities. Individuals that have committed murder and that are capable of adolescent murder that are residing in your communities that you are not aware of and they do not want you to become informed about. Because it's all about this false sense of security.
So would you say that children's rights are being violated in the city of Chicago?
Yeah. Children have no rights here in the city of Chicago because their parents have no rights in the city of Chicago. We got civil rights, we got gay rights. I think we as a people need to create some black rights. If they can create black codes, people can abide by them. And I say this simply because if you teach your children the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, the Mbuzo Saba, by applying those 7 principles to our daily lives as a culture of people, teaches us how to live in peace, harmony, and balance as a culture of African descent. Will go towards delinquency and prevention. I don't think it's coming to the hood. And there's $5 million allocated to gang and youth violence education and prevention, while the Department of Justice gets an additional $69 million for drug enforcement agencies and $176 million to community-orientated police services.
So let me ask you something. You talk about it was $52 billion allocated by the national government to combat gang and violence.
Gang violence.
Gang violence. And none of these resources are reaching the neighborhood, community groups, or people who can resolve these issues.
Not at all. The money comes on the strength of black people, but once the dollars are allocated and the funds are here, they're distributed to everybody. This is a black thing. This is a black state of emergency. It is what it is. This isn't a rainbow of blood flowing in these streets. This is a flood of black blood flowing in these streets.
Thank you, Queen Sister.
Indeed. Peace
Can
and
I have
love.
that document so we can